this time, I would like to take nominations for the election of board chair for the supervisory union board.
I nominate Alice Laughlin.
Laughlin.
I second.
And who seconded this?
Amy.
Amy, right. Okay, are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of Alice Laughlin as chair of the SU board, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Alice didn't vote.
Oh, I didn't vote. I abstain.
Are you saying yes or no?
Yeah, I will admit I feel a little awkward since we have a person who was a fantastic chair of the board for many years in the room.
Yeah, as I think some of you know, there's some ambiguity about my service on the SU board, because my local board does not fill the vacancy. We had the opportunity to do that last night, but we didn't do it, so. So, we'll figure it out.
All right, well, thank you, Alice. And,
I guess
did
so.
say the seat for you up here.
Yeah, that was nice of you.
Well, whoever was coming up. The trick is with crank stuff, I'll be able to get it.
I try that.
I would just try So, I think we're heading straight into, is there a motion for the vice chair?
I was wondering if Beth was interested in serving.
I was wondering myself. Is that a motion?
It is, well, I don't want to put her on the spot.
You're putting me on the spot. Sure.
And I make the motion that we nominate, that we appoint Beth Bristol vice chair. I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, welcome aboard.
Thank you. And another big one.
Yeah, this is a huge job, actually. I'll accept a nomination for board clerk.
I would like to nominate Michael McGillian.
Okay.
I'm going to respectfully decline the nomination.
All right. Then I would nominate Christina.
Is that,
I would respectfully decline.
all right.
Who's got a computer open?
Uh-oh, then close your computer.
Go like this.
I nominate Kim Price. Second the nomination.
Are you up for it?
I guess so, I mean, if everybody else has already declined. Won't support it, I will.
Any further discussion? I would suggest that maybe you do it for 1 or 2 meetings and see how it goes.
I know there were people on the negotiating team in finance that were hoping to rotate this position.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Was that it? What was that, Kim?
Nothing.
All right. No abstentions? Okay, thank you, Kim. It's a thankless job, and no one wants to do it, clearly. All right, so let's do the minutes. Has everyone looked at them? There were 2. They were from a long time ago.
Do you want them separate or together?
Let's have them separate.
I move we accept the minutes of December 15th, 2016.
Second. Okay, any discussion?
I have one change that I'd like to see under paragraph 4, committee reports. The last sentence reads that Ms. Powell's abstained as she had not seen the financials. Mr. McGillian refused to state why he was abstaining. I think I declined instead of refused, so I'd like the minutes to say declined instead of refused. Thanks.
Okay. So, who wrote the minute? Who so noted.
Can we just make sure I see where it is, so
Yeah.
I'm clear to get it to,
Page 1,
of which ones?
4B, December 15th.
Okay,
it's the last sentence before the warrant numbers.
got it,
are-
yep. So it should read, Mr. McGillen declined.
Yep.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? I'm abstaining.
I abstained because I wasn't here.
Indeed, that was,
I'm abstaining, sorry.
okay, so 4 abstentions. Okay.
I also wasn't here.
Yep, 5. Did you get all those, Ken?
Do we have enough to pass?
She left
Yes. It's a serious question. How many people
Looks like
have,
5, just 5.
so how many of us are voting to approve them?
That's,
That enough?
we should be enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I think under Robert's rules, you don't have to abstain if you're not in a meeting, you're just approving the minutes as written. So you, just because you're not at a meeting doesn't mean you are required to abstain.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right. The next one?
I move we accept the minutes from February 15th.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm abstaining again. Okay, do we have any communications? No?
VSBA is looking for resolutions from local boards and supervisory union boards.
This would be a good time, Amy, to introduce yourself.
I was asked to serve on the Vermont School Board Association's board. There's about 25 members from across the state. And I'll be serving as your local mouthpiece. So if there are issues that you want to take up to the Vermont School Board Association, please let me know.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, we've got anything else? No. I would like us to come up with a policy as to how to invite the public to speak with us. What's the tradition, Amy? Is it before or after?
We didn't really have an established process for that.
We haven't had a lot of need.
Okay. So I guess I'll put some thought into that, but right now I would like to recognize the folks who are sitting in the public. Is that okay? And do you guys have anything to
Well, we're actually, we're the BUHS board.
Right.
And we're needed here for a vote later.
All right.
So we're just here to be a quorum for our board.
You don't have anything on an agenda that says recognition of visitors, or?
We did,
Okay.
yeah, but some boards have more specific language. Okay. So you have nothing to say other than to be here and participate?
Yep.
Okay, so we have committee reports, and we're going to start out with finance and compensation. Would you like to say who you are?
Yeah, I'm Russ Janis, BUHS rep, and was just elected chair of the finance committee. We approved warrants, which I'll mention under the next item, and then we discussed the negotiations, which will be a later agenda item here as well. So I think that's all I need to say at this point. But I can, if you want me to, I can then move.
Let's do that.
And we'll see, there are a lot of warrants that we haven't met in a long time, and payrolls. So in the interest, unless there are objections, in the interest of time, I'll name the dates of them, but not go through all of the numbers for the warrants and payroll. So it's as As shown on the agenda, December 14th, 28th, January 11th, 25th, February 8th, 22nd, March 8th and 22nd, April 12th and 26th. Those are the warrants. Payrolls of December 9, 23, January 6, 20, February 3 and 17, March 3 and 17, April 14 and 28, and then American Express wire transfers from November 21st through December 21st, 2016, in the amounts shown on the agenda.
Is there a second?
Go ahead, Ruth.
I will second that.
Okay, any discussions or questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions?
Can I just confirm, board members are getting the documents as we were requesting ahead of time?
Yeah. Emily, you might not have been?
I didn't.
Okay. Anyone, everyone else has though? Yes? Okay.
Come to the chair and then move forward on that.
Right, that's, thank you for clarifying that.
That's why you haven't come in. So, anything other for finance?
No.
Okay, so unfinished business and new business, that's a chunk of items for our agenda. What was the thought as to how long this meeting will be tonight? Till 8?
You know, I would say till 7:30.
Shall we aim for that? Yes? Okay, just wanted to, yeah, so
I
that
mean,
means we,
there's some kind of housekeeping issues.
Yeah. So it's 6:25, so we'll just have to stay focused. And some things might have to be tabled, and some things like Act 46, we might touch on a bit. And then Act 46 study committee will be meeting, and I think that next meeting will probably be quite long, so board members could be invited to attend that perhaps. All right, so we're digging into unfinished business, Act 46. Should I
Yes.
talk?
Yep.
Okay.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
Could we do the contract negotiation part first, since that's the main focus of
Yeah.
the meeting?
I just worry that there's a few things that probably need to be done, which are pretty quick. So,
Why don't we,
Go ahead.
your intention is because that will take a lot of time, or?
Just have this birthday party for my daughter.
Since we're gonna end at 7:30, let's just be mindful of that and try to steam through. The study committee last met, we had one meeting in March and then April, or anyway, we decided to send the articles up to the state board and ask them for a meeting, just for some guidance. It took a very long time for the chair to get back to us. What's her name? Chair begins with H. Anyway, she said that, again, it took many weeks. She said she didn't feel like it was appropriate for the committee to meet with them, because at some point, the committee will most likely be putting forth articles of agreement for their consideration. So she suggested that we meet more with the agency. So at that point, I contacted, we found a date to meet with Secretary Holcomb, and Donna Russo-Savage and Chris Leopold stepped in, and I tried to get each one of, I talked to the study committee, the majority of the study committee, and tried to get one of each town, the voting member from each town to come. Everyone was busy. So I headed up with these guys and Amy, and had a pretty quick meeting. Basically, the 513, the bill of 513 had just passed. This is really the main bill in reaction to Act 46. So they talked to us a little bit about that and how it would address the current articles of agreement. That bill was then signed by Scott yesterday, I think, or the day before, so that is now law. That does change things for us, a little, we have things to talk about, but the biggest thing is that Vernon now has some breathing room, right? So the study committee will need to, I think we're tentatively scheduled for June sixth.
June sixth.
And that might be quite a long meeting, depending on, you know, how it goes. I would like to contact sort of individual members of the study committee before setting that agenda, so I know what you guys really want to talk about, because, and then we'll obviously address that in the meeting. But there is interest in having Donna Russo-Savage come to that meeting. I'm not sure if I'm not convinced that that would be a good use of her or our time. I think we have some things to talk about and questions that collectively we might want to articulate before inviting her. That would be my preference as chair in terms of managing, because I think she might come, and we would have additional questions, so I prefer to, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, what she was saying with Secretary Holcomb was that she would be happy to come down, I think it makes sense, after the study committee meets and decides kind of where we're at. And at an information meeting, it would be helpful she offered herself, Donna Russo-Savage, and Brad James to be able to come down and then talk with not only the study committee, but members of the public. So I think it would make sense to hold off.
So my suggestion would be to have the meeting on June sixth as scheduled, and then have, you know, very quickly thereafter, scheduled to have her, and I think Chris Leopold, and Brad come down and meet with us. But I'll be contacting you guys. You can just throw out I've got a good chunk of the study committee here, so if you want to quickly throw out a yay or a nay. A lot of it depends on the schedule for the second week of June, who's available for that. And if I don't hear really a lot of chatter from you guys right now, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So have 2 meetings, first week of June and then the second week of June.
You have a date in mind?
No.
Because you have graduation.
So it might be the beginning of the following. Why don't, what?
Like the week of the 19th.
Yeah,
So we have one scheduled already, the 6th, right?
yeah.
Yes.
So the week after graduation, maybe, what you're thinking?
A lot of it depends on her schedule, but I wanted to talk to you guys about it before contacting her and Chris. 2 for 1. So why don't I aim for that Tuesday? Is there anyone who couldn't do the Tuesday that, is it the 20th?
It's the 20th.
Wednesdays are better, but.
Right. Okay, so you know what, I'm gonna talk to Barb about sending out one of those scheduling things, monkeys or whatever those are called. You know what I'm talking about, to simplify.
But as of now, the 20th seems like it would work.
Yeah, so tentatively schedule that and,
6
Will-
PM,
yeah. All right, sound good, guys?
do we have a location?
Not yet.
No. Okay, so the next thing is executive committee discussion, is that appropriate?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah,
I had a couple of questions about that.
Go ahead.
The Act 46 update.
Yeah.
You know, when our board member reported to us, our board, that she had gone and met with the administration and what seems like the administration of the Agency of Education, I was a little surprised because I'm trying to keep track of what's going on at the Act 46 level and didn't see a warned meeting
it wasn't, yeah, go ahead.
going on the website or any minutes or really any report of what had happened. And frankly, I have a great concern when something like that occurs. And
So I'll share with you that I talk to Secretary Holcomb, you know, every couple of months. I'm the chair of the board and I that's what I do, the chair of the committee, that's what I do. So, and it did not need to be a warned meeting, there wasn't a quorum. And it had been, yeah, and this is when you're hearing about it, because this is the next meeting after that. I think it's great that you happen to have a member of the study committee who had time. That's great, that's very valuable that you had that coming to your board and she could share that, so. I know that there are people in this room who were on the study committee who didn't even hear these details yet, because there's no need, we have not met. And there will not be published notes about that meeting, because no one was taking, no, I mean, there was no need. There are going to be more conversations with them, and this is just, you know, this is what we do. We talk to people. I'm the chair, he's the superintendent of schools. Lyle Holiday was not there, and Frank's the business administrator. These are people who talk to the Agency of Education quite frequently, so.
And at the time, I was the SU board chair as well.
Yeah, so, I would not have done anything differently, but I'm certainly hearing what you're saying, but it certainly might happen that way again.
I'm suggesting that you would likely have an authority problem in doing so without either receiving authority from the study committee in order to be able to go ahead and meet with people outside of the context of an actual warned open meeting. And that if you don't have that authority, you might be acting outside of that.
Go ahead.
So that's a good point about the authority. We had shared the letter with the study committee that we had crafted back in March, I believe, to ask for guidance from the Agency of Education and the State Board of Education. So at that last meeting that we had in this room, I believe, the study committee gave the authority to go ahead and have that meeting. Unfortunately, we didn't get much, after we got some communication from the State Board Chair, we didn't really get much notice about the meeting with the Agency of Ed. And I know Alice and I reached out to study committee reps, and they just couldn't make it that day. So we were given the authority at the last study committee meeting, and I think the minutes would reflect that.
Yeah, and there was we were not proposing anything. We were learning and sharing what the study, you know, there was a letter to the Board of Ed, and that's what we shared. Yeah.
To address the same concern, Michael, I feel like we were informed of the study committee, and they did reach out to me as chair, and I was in Wisconsin, I think, when you guys were doing this. I was traveling. So I feel like we were informed and we'd given that authority, and I feel like that's something that happens on a regular basis, that sometimes one person has to go and do those types of conversations. I'm waiting to hear what else they found out. As
Yeah,
Alice is saying, we
what-
don't know in Brattleboro situation because we haven't had a meeting, so we're not, you guys know more in Dummerston at the moment because they didn't happen to be there, whatever happened with that meeting. We're waiting.
One might think we know more, but I can't say that we actually do know more as a result. That's, I think, in large part of the problem. So we have an alternate study committee member who wasn't even aware that there was a meeting proposed to take place where educational information about different Act 46 things could have been learned. And it just rubs me the wrong way that
Well, if it feels better to you, that's one of the reasons why I think we're having this conversation tonight, so that we can all discuss it at this level, and then again at the study committee level, so that there's very clear communication out there, and then, as Alice is pointing out, so at the next meeting, we can discuss and see what we want to hear from and what the questions are. I know I still had questions, I haven't heard back from this meeting, and I had questions, and Lyle and I attended the superintendent and board training last Wednesday at Lake Maury, and when Donna Russo-Savage actually spoke to us, I said to Lyle, let's go ask questions. And so we did ask some specific questions that had occurred to me and to Lyle.
And you will bring those back to the study committee meeting.
Well, right, and like you said, I'm not sure I completely wrap my mind around it, quite honestly. When I hear it, then I still come up with some more questions, and so that's why I'm very much in favor of bringing her down in a very open setting where we can ask these types of questions and everyone hears the answers.
Yeah, and that's why I think this next meeting will be quite long, and why I see the value in having sort of this two-stage discussion about these things, because there is a lot to report back and to flesh out.
And I'd just like to make a comment too. I think that, you know, Michael, if you're going to express those kind of concerns, you also need to be aware that the alternative member from Dummerston has also interacted with outside groups without notifying the study committee members to join in. The example would be meetings with Mike Moricki. Yeah, so, I mean, no other study committee members were invited or even aware of that until the video was out, to my knowledge. So, I'm not trying to point fingers or be unpleasant about it, but I also think, you know, we need to reflect internally as Dummerston residents and recognize that while you think that this may not have been above board, it was. And like Alice, I would not do anything differently because I do have the ethical and moral compass to, you know, make these kind of actions.
Okay.
I'd like to respond to that, when somebody asked me to answer questions about a topic, you know, I didn't make a representation of a study committee. I just said I was very clear to say, you know, I don't know everything about this, but this is my understanding, because some people don't even understand what Act 46 was. So Mike Morty asked me as a favor to show up and speak to what I knew.
But you didn't notify the rest of the study.
Is there
So it's sort
anything
of the
else
same
in that I'd
thing?
like to move on? Yeah.
Yeah, and just given the history and the controversial nature of this and the divisiveness of the topic, I think if any action the study committee makes, you should err on the side of transparency and openness. Just announce everything, put it in the paper, even if it's not a quorum thing, so that these kinds of things don't come up. It's just it's trouble that you invite, and it's a waste of time.
I actually disagree. I'll be
That's
honest.
fine.
Here I am.
All right.
I've been voted in as a member of this committee. So I would assume that there's a general appreciation for my honorability on these committees. I have spent a massive amount of time, as many of us have, on this study committee. If I alerted the Brattleboro Reformer every time I had a meeting, I would spend all my time doing that. So with all due respect, folks, I understand this is an incredibly political and personal issue. Part of this specific issue is so you're passionate about. I imagine is because the study committee has not met yet. And once the study committee meets, and then we talk to Donna, you will feel better. I took 6 hours of my day to have this meeting, as did the rest of us. Several people on the study committee could not meet. They did not tell me, and they're voting members, they did not say, please don't go, ask them to come down. If someone had said that, I would have easily taken back my 6 hours and asked those folks to come down and meet with us. But we went ahead and did it this way. In a few weeks, we will all feel much more comfortable with what happened at that meeting. You will all have read 513, and we'll all be more savvy about how the study committee and the boards want to move forward. Right now, I want to move forward on this, on the agenda, if that's all right. Yep?
Yes.
Okay.
So the next item is unfinished business
Yeah.
under the executive committee that was suggested in the fall of December. So you should all have a document which refers to Vermont Statutes Online, statute VSA 16264, majority vote of school directors. It's section B. A supervisory union may establish an executive committee consisting of the chair and no fewer than 2 additional directors. The supervisory union shall enumerate in writing the specific powers and duties delegated to the executive committee, which shall have authority to act on behalf of the supervisory union within its delegated powers. So what we have here are historically the things that the finance committee have been involved with, other than the last bullet. So finance, compensation and evaluation, that's primarily with the administrative team, and goal setting. The board code of ethics would be something additional, which again, if the SU finance was essentially the executive committee, there may be times where code of ethic issues are taken up by this committee, this executive committee, as was authorized back in, I don't know, if it was December or whatever it was. So this is an attempt to codify the concept of the finance committee actually being an executive committee. So I'd open it up to questions or comments.
I think my question originally was what exactly do we feel like the committee would be doing? And so from this reading, it's still pretty vague, right?
Well, finance, they do the budget development as the finance committee would, so that's real specific. Compensation and evaluation, they have, the finance committee or an executive committee would deal with my salary and evaluation process, as well as Frank's, and those are the main two.
Stop for just one second.
Yep.
So you're enumerating, right? And so Kim, are you writing down what he says? Because that's really what we want to do out of this, is enumerating out what the powers should be. So you've named 2 or 3, I wasn't writing them down, so I feel like that was the whole point of this, was just so we had it written down. You got them, Rob?
They're on the sheet.
Those 4 bulleted things.
On the
Is that
bottom.
referring to the 4 bullets at the bottom?
So compensation and evaluation, you're specifically saying superintendent, would it be evaluation of other folks or compensation of other?
Central office administrators?
Just so that's clear.
Yeah. And so the contract language takes care, in statute takes care of evaluations that I do of principals or staff. It wouldn't be the executive committee. But they do organize the evaluation of my position and set the compensation for my position. So we could be clearer about that. Goal setting would be kind of putting together some goals and brought to the supervisory union board. I think that would be very similar to the goal setting that individual boards do based on the district-wide action plan, so that
Be
would
goals
give it a
for-
little bit more
Okay.
continuity, yeah. And then board code of ethics, issue that came up last fall.
Before we talk further about this, I just want to throw out that we have 45 minutes. And I'm wondering, certainly we should talk more if we want, but this is something that we might want to take back to our own boards to discuss. Does that make sense? So would people like further discussion now, or can we table this and have you guys go back and talk and?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
one thing to add, which was that at the December 2016 meeting, there was a motion that was made by Jill to ask the executive committee for like a job description. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like a more specific job description than just the broad areas that you were talking about.
I think that's what I'm getting at right now, but I think that's what Alice is saying, that we go back and we flesh out what we each, if these are the broad areas, then each of our boards, Michael, would look at it and say, okay, so goal setting would mean this to us.
And then the SU would meet again to accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I
The boards
guess,
could even write some language.
that's what I'm saying, we should send it on, right? That would be
Yeah.
the most efficient.
I think so.
So each of our boards sends it back by,
Can we send it on to other boards?
no, that would
No.
be discussion.
No.
Yeah, it's a discussion.
Yeah.
So, but we could send it back to Russ, right? You're head of that committee, and you could compile them.
Sure.
And so our deadline, say, would be the beginning of June to get that done? Or what, no,
Yeah,
beginning of July.
Depends on the- right.
Yeah, beginning of July.
Yeah, and in fact, if there was time, you could put it all together and throw it back to the boards, because there might be insights of conversations. Other board approaches might help our own. All right, any further discussion, or can we keep tootling along? Okay, anything other on unfinished business? Okay, new business. So we go from A to L. With 53 minutes, so
Yeah,
election, go ahead,
I would do the first 4,
okay?
skip over this sort of contract stuff, and then finish these other things, because there's a couple things that are really quick.
Okay,
Um,
all right,
So let's see how we do 1 through 4, and then the timing, maybe adjust it to get to the contract stuff.
Okay, so the first is election of superintendent of schools.
I would move that we elect Ron Stahley as the superintendent.
No,
I decline, I respectfully decline the position.
I take that back. I make the motion that we elect Lyle Holliday as the superintendent of schools.
Second. Oh, I can't say that.
Second.
Any discussion?
So this is for July 1.
Yes.
Yeah, do we need to say that in the motion as of July 1, or just Lyle automatically?
Yeah, I could
replace-
So is the motion corrected? July 1?
Friendly amendment.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Thank you, Lyle. Thank you. Congratulations. And before we move on, Ron, is this your last meeting with us, SU?
Unless you have another meeting, depending on what the contract
Okay.
is, it probably would typically be the last spring meeting. Yeah. So we can talk about how much we enjoyed this at the end. We should keep moving.
We'll keep moving.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, treasurer and business administrator?
I move election of Frank Rucker as treasurer and business administrator.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? No. Congratulations. Total surprise, I know. Okay, moving on, central office staff?
I make a motion that we authorize to employ central office staff.
Second.
Any discussion?
You're gonna authorize who to employ central office staff?
The superintendent.
Superintendent.
It
Okay.
doesn't say that.
And actually in the statute,
Yeah.
the superintendent's contract actually says that, so we got it covered.
I second that.
No discussion? We had the discussion. Ruth brought up a very good one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Yeah, you feeling good? Yeah. Authorization to accept federal, state, and privately funded grants.
I move that we authorize the superintendent to accept federal, state, and privately funded grants.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
None
Oh,
opposed?
wait a minute.
The motion stands. So did you suggest that we skip and then?
Yeah, I mean, the audit review, Frank has audit reports here, so anybody could come up and take a copy and, at their leisure, take a look at it. We're all in good stead, no findings or anything like that, so.
I'll also mention that they've been distributed back in probably February and March. So everybody's had a copy of the audits and for the last couple of months. They're also on the SU website. So,
Do we have to approve them?
The next one, the summer food program, we do need action to support the summer food program from June 26th to August 18th, as we have in the past. It's a great program, serves our students well and families.
Didn't we approve that on our local level already?
so that's your own food service program?
So what's this one?
This is for the,
Greater
The SU coordinated program.
So where is it serviced?
I think there's 10 sites throughout the communities.
More in Brattleboro?
Who's providing it? Is Cafe?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's federal programming.
There's discussion back here that they think it's only in Brattleboro, but you're saying?
No, it is.
How many are they in Vernon?
I think they are primarily in Brattleboro, and it's based on participation.
I'm just confused still why we approve one and then the SU approves another if they're all.
It's the USDA requirements as to who's the food service authority that's operating the program. So each district has their own school food authority and contracts independently with either Cafe Services or Fitzroy, or in Putney, they do their own program. The SU is the sponsor for the summer food program, so we have to have an approval on that as well.
But it's self-sustaining.
It is self-sustaining, yeah. It's funded through the child nutrition grant.
Okay, so we're having the discussion before the motion.
I move we approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, discussion.
We already had it.
Just want to make sure. You're good, Joe? Okay. Is there specific language or?
No, you'll need to sign it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. We're cruising. Let's go ahead and do the credit card. You want to?
We'll just
Just
speak to it.
briefly.
For many years, we've had an American Express card for the supervisory union, primarily for the superintendent, and on occasion when there is a requirement for a credit card type of transaction. It's used very infrequently. I've canceled the American Express card because primarily it's a much higher fee than what's needed. But on occasion, we do need to secure a room and/or a travel arrangement through a credit card. So here's a replacement with People's United Bank. It's essentially a no-cost card. People's Bank requires a board approval of a resolution to open the account.
So do you need a motion for action?
Yeah.
I move that we accept the recommendation to get a credit card through People's United Bank.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? Policy review.
Yeah, so the next one, the wellness, the WellAct group from the district has been working on this wellness policy for quite a while. Paul's gonna give us a brief overview for the first reading, and then we'll bring it back at the next meeting. So, Paul?
So, the Healthy and Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2013, I believe, mandated changes to wellness policies. A number of organizations, including some of the nutrition folks, are looking at school wellness policies. It has been some time since we approved that policy. And as you go through it, you will see that there are goals for certain elements of nutrition programs, and also some suggestions, some goals for activities at school, that sort of thing. There's some specific language with respect to food service programs that needs to be in there as part of the nutrition program. There are other pieces that we're following the recommendation of the state of Vermont, their guidelines for wellness policy. This is, we've had folks look at this at the Department of Health, lots of support. This is kind of a model level policy. This is the first reading, have a look at it. You can see the different sections. If you have questions, we're happy to field them.
I have a question.
Sure.
Who is our district wellness committee?
So that's WellAct. Historically, a long time ago, that was actually started out as the Safe and Drug-Free Schools Committee back when I was teaching at Guilford. And over time, it sort of evolved into sort of the district wellness oversight group. Representation from each of the schools in general, that's usually it's the nurses that come, sometimes it's counselors that come. We also have representatives from the Department of Health, the Drug and Alcohol Prevention Agency, through Vermont Agency of Health. Sometimes Big Brothers Big Sisters folks come, sometimes trying to think of the Brattleboro Prevention Coalition. So both school representatives and outside providers. Really, in the long run, we should have student representation. It's really hard to get student representation on a committee like that, but that's currently the makeup of the organization.
And there's no action on this, it's just learning about what's.
Yeah, no, this is first time through the
Yeah.
policy. I will give a sort of an example of changes that might take place. One of the things that it says is you're not supposed to be giving out candy in school. And we sort of, as a wellness policy, we think that's a really good idea. So some of those initiatives that some of those schools use to help out with getting kids motivated about SBAC probably aren't going to be candy anymore if this policy goes through. And we actually think that's probably a good idea. There are other ways to provide incentives to kids. So that's the kind of thing that we're looking at in the policy.
You're not getting rid of birthday cake celebration.
The policy recommends that you send, no, we are not, but the policy recommends, here are some ideas for healthy alternatives, or if you're gonna go with the cake route, here's some ways to think about it, portion size, that sort of thing.
Carrot cake.
That should be a policy.
I like
Beet cake.
Beet cake, yeah.
All right. Further discussion? No? All right. Shall we keep the meeting schedule agenda item to the end?
Yeah, I would say typically, you may not need a meeting in June. So we typically do October, December, March, April, May, or June. So we could confirm that.
Okay.
We wouldn't pick the dates yet, but, so,
Makes sense?
yeah.
Oh, okay. So let's do this. Okay, so moving on. Let's do we will have a few things to talk about at the very end, but let's dig into the details.
Okay. So I would ask that we go into executive session to talk about contract negotiations.
Okay, is there,
Make a motion to go into executive session, contractual matters at premature disclosure with whatever the appropriate line is. Threatened.
second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion before we vote? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, guys, we've been in executive session, and the boards went into executive session, individual WSESU school boards. And now I'm going to go around the room and ask the chair, if the chair is present, to share the board's, the results of the vote.
Or vote.
If they have, yeah.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
voting
the
out,
chair,
not the
Ricky is
chair.
chair.
you're voting outside
Second.
Yeah.
executive session. Go.
Yeah, so BUHS votes, my gosh,
Yay.
7 yay, 1 abstain.
Okay. To support the.
To support the agreement as presented.
I had 6 to 1.
There was another vote.
Oh, okay.
Brattleboro,
And unanimous yay.
okay, Guilford.
Guilford hasn't voted, so I'm gonna make a motion to, I guess, is that to
Approve.
approve the recommendation, for the negotiation?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That was unanimous.
Unanimous.
Dummerston?
Dummerston is voting out of executive session as well. I entertain a motion.
I move we approve the certified and classified proposals.
Second.
Discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Putney voted in favor? Unified vote,
Unanimous.
okay? All right, and now there should be a motion.
I make a motion that the supervisory union board approve the same 2 contracts.
A second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, I just
I
wanna,
abstain.
what?
I
Did you
abstain.
abstain?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch that.
You
All right,
didn't
anyone
ask
else?
for abstention.
I know, I was, any other abstentions? Okay. All right. So we're at the end of the meeting, and so go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to pour water on the pleasantries, but Blue Cross Blue Shield proposed increase for this year is 12.7%. So unfortunately, a lot of this is gonna disappear when we get those bills.
No,
Yep.
completely independent of that.
Really?
Yeah, that's the idea of a self-insured pool. It's Vermont School Board's Insurance Trust and the Vermont Health Education Initiative is the VHI. We are completely independent of that effect.
So it would be a different rate. The increase will be a different rate.
These rates are good for 18 months.
Right.
No increase.
Great.
Okay.
For 18 months.
I would like to raise, I would like to see a motion to pay our clerk a stipend for doing the minutes. I believe Kim does the minutes for Brattleboro. I don't know if she gets a stipend there.
No, we have
but-
a clerk.
No.
We have a clerk.
Okay. I would just like to raise the discussion because no one wants to do this. Kim is doing it because she was sort of pleasantly forced into it. So I would just like to take a moment or two to entertain that.
Do you have a figure in mind?
I do not, I don't know what standard.
Well, I make the
Yes,
motion,
Mr. Rucker?
I make the motion that we pay the clerk $75 a meeting for
Yeah,
minutes.
I guess I just want to confirm that with Barb. She has those rates and
Okay.
whatever, you know.
I believe that's what we do in Dummerston.
I did talk to her about rates recently because we had to hire and they were all over the board.
Our clerk is 30.
But our clerk, when she left at 12 years or so, she was at 75. That's where that number comes from.
Yes.
So I would recommend 75.
Okay, so there's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Was it 75 per hour, 75 per meeting?
Per meeting.
Per meeting.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have a
sorry,
question.
sorry.
Could somebody give some idea how many hours is spent at each meeting doing that?
2.
It's not per hour.
2 tonight.
So then we remember it's not per hour. it's-
Yeah, I realize that, but how much are we
So it's
paying?
usually 2 hours in the meeting and then another
7.
hour to figure it out later on,
So it's about a 3-hour job?
probably.
Depends on the meeting.
Yes. And it depends on the minutes too. Having served as clerk before, sometimes it can take a lot longer than an hour to, if the meeting is really long and involved, to generate the minutes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Yes.
Okay.
Could we also collect the materials from the executive session?
And Lyle has one thing to share. So I would like to announce that Julianne Egan has been hired as the new curriculum coordinator. Julianne is presently a teacher at BAMS. She's also been a teacher at the high school. She additionally has extensive experience with the preschool people, having worked in preschool and having created a newspaper for parents of newborn children. So Julianne will join us on July 1st, and actually she's going to come to the new board training that some of you will be at to start meeting some people, so.
Tomorrow night, the high school pops, the high school music program does their pops programs, works they've been working on all year, so they're really sharp. It's also gonna be Patty Meyer's last concert, so it will be memorable.
Is that it?
Motion to adjourn.
Well, before we adjourn,
I
go ahead.
tried.
I'd like to make a motion to recognize Ron Stahley for his many years of faithful, good-humored, diligent, intelligent, creative, service.
Patient.
Yeah, so,
I'll second that.
And we'll all second that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, is there a motion to, or, I should ask, any abstentions? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Would ask you just to turn your
All right, thank you, everyone. See you June 1st is
This is what apparently.